Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 150 of Crunch Time with the N326 duo. I'm your host today, Sam Godsey, and with me today, as always, is Tanner. Tanner, we took a week off due to a holiday last week, but how are you doing?
Sam, I would say it's good to be back, because it's good to be back and recording this episode, but, part of me wants to go back to last week where everyone was off of work and we had an incredible week of sports. So many things going on. Of course, this past weekend made some headlines for a few reasons. We may or may not be talking about them today. But all that being said, I'm ready to talk about it, and I'm ready as we wrap up the year, which is absolutely insane to say.
Yeah, absolutely. It was an electric week last week. We had Feast Week, we had college football, Rivalry Week, we had some great games in the NFL. The NBA is going on, but God knows that doesn't start till after Christmas.
Dude, don't disrespect the NBA Cup.
I will disrespect the NBA Cup with no problem. But
I hate to see that.
We got an action-packed episode for you. It was an electric week across the board. So let's hop right into it. Tanner, let's kick off as we always do. Winners and losers, who got?
Sam, you know what? Let's talk a little bit more in depth about some of those things you mentioned that went on this week, because my winner of the week is college sports fans, man. What an insane week of specifically college sports we had with Feast Week and with Rivalry/Hate Week going on in college football. Now, Feast Week, of course, the week of Thanksgiving. It is commonly the week of all these tournaments going around, the Maui Invitational, Battle for Atlantis. There's ones all over the country. And this year was some of the best college basketball you could ever imagine this week. We had an absolutely stacked Maui Invitational that saw the number 2 overall team in the country, or what used to be the number 2 overall team in the country, saw them lose 3 times. They went 0-3. We saw Auburn win the whole thing, and they were my, for those of you who follow us on social media, they were my winner of the week last week, because they have put together the most impressive resume thus far through the first couple weeks of the college basketball season. We had crazy matchups outside of Maui with Kansas and Duke playing over in Vegas, I believe. And then you had a North Carolina, Michigan State game back in Maui, multiple games going to overtime, buzzer beaters to send it to overtime. It was an absolutely insane week of college basketball, Sam. So any college basketball fan had to have loved that. And of course, ourselves are included in that as well. And then we got to Rivalry Week, where I think more aptly named Hate Week, because it was a hateful rivalry week. Seemed like every single game there was a fight, there was a skirmish, there was some sort of bad blood. Started on Friday. We were obviously Iowa, Nebraska. We're going to talk about it. Some pregame stuff with shaking hands, not shaking hands, police officers guarding a logo at midfield. And that turned out to be the tamest of all of it, as Ohio State and Michigan, obviously we'll talk about that game as well, but that ended in an all-out brawl between the two teams regarding planting a flag at midfield, and that ended up with pepper spray being sprayed by police officers during that skirmish. Then you had North Carolina State, similar thing, tried to plant a flag, teams got into it. Florida State tried to plant a flag, teams got into it. Arizona State tried to plant the Sun Devil spear. The pitchfork, that's what it's called. They got into it there as well. And then Auburn, Alabama, I don't think that one was flag related, but they got into a fight after the game as well. So it was like, this whole like, oh man, we hate to see this. We really don't. It was pretty awesome to see all the hate being spewed and all of that, because at the end of the day, that's what college sports thrives on. So, I was all for this weekend in college sports.
Yeah, absolutely. It was an absolutely electric weekend across the board. Hopefully y'all watched all that, the Maui tournament, because that's probably one of the best one we'll have for a while. 3 top 10 teams one going 0-3. It was absolutely electric.
I mean, just off the top of my head, I know Memphis UConn went to overtime, and UConn hit a 3 to send it to overtime. Auburn, Iowa State came down to a last-second tip-in, and that was an 18-point comeback. Then you had Dayton and I believe it was North Carolina in game one, where North Carolina erased like a 16-point lead. And then you had Dayton beating UConn, and then Dayton, where they play Michigan State maybe, and gave them a run for their money. Michigan State, North Carolina, that game went to overtime. I mean, what the hell was like? You couldn't even like. It was banger after banger after banger.
Yeah, and then obviously this weekend. I mean, it's always heated with rivalry weeks, but it just seemed like it took a whole nother level this week. I guess most of them had playoff implications with most of those games. You forgot to mention the fight in USC.
Yes.
Notre Dame.
Yes. One of the best punches you'll ever see.
Makes no sense to me. But and obviously not on the level, but Arkansas and Missouri were in fights. I mean, who wasn't in a fight last weekend? It was a fun weekend, though. But for my winner, we got to show love to Hawkeyes when they perform well. Unfortunately, it's good to see, but sad to see him go. Kaleb Johnson has officially declared for the 2025 NFL Draft, finishing his career as one of the best running backs in all of college football this season, and up there with the greats of Iowa running backs. But yeah, I assume he's opting out of the bowl game. I don't think that's been officially reported, but I would assume
so as well.
I would assume that'd be the case. But yeah, he announced it via X a couple days ago. So props to him taking that next step. He's getting on the Pro Football Focus. He's number 3 with running backs. Not surprising, but what a legacy he's leaving at Iowa. He scored a touchdown in all of the regular season games this year. Finished the regular season with 1,725 yards, 23 touchdowns. If it weren't for the other number 2 in the Bronco Blue, he would be considered for Heisman without a doubt. But hats off to Kaleb Johnson for a great career in making Iowa's putrid offense at least watchable.
Yeah, I mean, it's there's nothing more to be said. I mean, he all-time great, one of the best, as you said, rushing seasons at Iowa for a running back. Even he did it through the air. I mean, obviously, recency. First thing that comes to mind is that Nebraska game. I mean, he had like 80% of Jackson Stratton's passing yards or something on that one play. Yeah. 80% is a lot. It may have been like 65% or something like that.
I don't think it was that.
A lot of his passing yards were on that one play. And of course, that was our only touchdown. That was really our only offense. So Kaleb Johnson was our team. We talked about how we never thought in a million years our offense would be good and our defense would be bad. Number 2 was the reason why this offense was good. The run game was night and day. It's absolutely kill it in the at the next level. If only there was a team out there who may be looking for a running back. Please wear purple next year, Mr. Kaleb Johnson.
Maybe blue works too.
There you go. All the teams that are looking for some running back help. I have no doubt he'll be a great pickup for some team, and he'll put together a strong rookie season because he's just a really good football player. So shout out Kaleb Johnson, you're a beast, and yeah, you'll forever have one of the best seasons in Iowa history.
Yeah, absolutely. But here, let's flip it to the other side of the coin. Who is your loser?
Yeah, Sam, I have to make this my loser. I remember watching it live and thinking, that is one of the dirtiest plays I've seen in a very long time. And that is, of course, Azeez Al Shaair is the linebacker for the Houston Texans, who, as Trevor Lawrence was very clearly sliding, he took a pretty cheap shot at him, smacked the back of his head against the turf. I believe Lawrence remained conscious through the entirety of it. I think he did get the fencing pose that Tua has gotten a few times. Yeah. Apparently Lawrence is okay. I mean, he was responsive. He got up and he was doing well on Sunday night. But it was a pretty scary move, pretty scary moment. And of course, Al Shaair was ejected for the hit. And he's kind of building a little bit of a track record now. Obviously, doesn't make the big time headlines because it's Azeez Al Shaair and not some big name player. But he's thrown a punch against the Bears sideline earlier in the year. He's gotten many unnecessary roughness on late hits out of bounds, on roughing the passer, quarterback hits. It seems like this guy may or may not be a little dirty. And this hit was certainly evidence of that. So you got to be a loser. You get ejected for a cheap shot. And credit to the Jags because they are having a rough year. They're 2-10 now, 3-9, something like that. They're having a rough year. Very easy to pack it in, but they stuck up for their quarterback after that cheap shot, and of course a brawl ensued. And I think the cherry on top is, I don't know if you saw the screenshot after he laid the hit, but of course he flattened him, and he laid the cheap shot. There are about 6 flags on the field, and he gets up like this.
Yeah,
like trying to what? I didn't do anything. What? How was that a penalty? Most obvious penalty of all time. He didn't think he deserved a penalty, which was hilarious. But yeah, he's a loser. What a dirty hit. He got stuff thrown at him as he's leaving the field. Obviously, you don't really want to see it, but if there's ever a time to throw stuff on the field at someone, I feel like he deserved that. It was really tough to see.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a scary moment, for sure. But Tanner, I'm gonna make some crunch time history. Last week we had 2 of the same losers because this man was a major loser. Let's make it 3 times, Tanner.
Ooh, back to back.
And Hurley.
Back to back. He's taking a beating.
He is just. So for those who somehow miss this, last week he definitely deserved to be both of our losers. So in the Maui Invitational first game, he basically got costly technical
in
overtime with about 40 seconds left, losing his mind, as we always see with Dan Hurley in the past. And then after the game, he says, I think as Shea calls, I'd expect to come play in an event. And I don't know too many back-to-back national championship teams that get that type of whistle. So that was kind of the first thing. And then he basically called out that same call. He called out the Memphis player for saying he went up for a weak-ass rebound. Obviously, losing is cool. The entire Maui Invitational. They ended up going 0-3. So 72 hours after it's all said and done, he doubles down and says, UConn will not be doing another 3-game MTE again. Moving forward, we will only play home and homes and single game events and big time arenas. I don't think I'll ever do a 3-game MTE again. Now, Tanner, I have a question for you. Did you know what MTE is? Nope. I definitely had to Google that one. Call me casual, but it's a multi-team event. Dan, just say that, brother. But it seems
I got another word for it. Tournament.
Whoa. To be honest. Whoa. But it seems this guy was like one of the most liked coaches.
At least respected. At least respected.
To one of the easily most hated coaches, and that's why he is back-to-back loser of the episode. This tweet perfectly sums up. He is just Kim Mulkey without being dressed like Elton John.
That was the next words out of my mouth, is that in one weekend he turned into Kim Mulkey.
Yeah.
One weekend.
It's impressive. But Tanner, you ready to talk some college football, man?
Let's talk ball.
It was, as we said, a heated rivalry week. Boy, game after game was electric. But Friday night, we'll start there. 8 overtime game. Georgia sneaks by Georgia Tech 44-42. Tanner, talk to me about this one.
First off, I wanted this so bad for Georgia Tech. Oh, I wanted it so bad. Georgia Tech has had a sneaky good season that no one's talking about. They opened it up with that stunning upset at the time of Florida State. Turns out they were just ass. But, oh, man, I wanted this so bad for Georgia Tech. But Georgia's just a better team. I mean, it was evident the whole time. And, man, it's just the comeback makes it tough. But Georgia Tech played their heart out. They deserved to win this game. It sucks that they didn't. But can we officially put to bed that how would blank do if they played in the SEC?
Yeah.
Like, I get it. SEC is a tough conference. I've said it. I think you've said it. SEC is the best football conference. I'm not saying that it's not. But just give me a break with this. The playoffs should be 8 SEC teams, 6 SEC teams. What would happen if Georgia Tech played an SEC? Well, they went against the team that's in the SEC and playing for the SEC championship game, and they went to 8 times with them.
Yeah.
They can clearly play. And I think there are a few coaches that have highlighted this issue. And I can't remember who it was, but he made a fantastic point. Right now, Sam, if you looked at the favorites, now, we understand we had this debate forever. Who's the best team versus who wins? What's the point of playing if you're just going to say, oh, but because this team is favored, they're the better team, whatever. We've had that debate since we've been blue in the face. But if you look at the favorite to win each of the 4 major conferences, who is the favorite to win the Big Ten?
Oregon.
In the Pac-12 last year.
Yeah.
Who's the favorite to win the Big 12?
Arizona State.
Arizona State is a 2-point favorite right now against Iowa State. In the Pac-12 last year, who's the favorite to win the ACC?
SMU.
Not in the ACC last year. They're in the American. And now, who is the favorite to win the SEC? Texas. Not in the SEC last year.
Yeah.
Does that not tell you everything you need to know?
Yeah.
Teams can play. It doesn't matter what conference they're in. They can play. So stop with this. A million SEC teams deserve to be in. And how would X team do if they played in the SEC? Stop it. I know you're the best conference. You are. You have the great streak of champions between Georgia, Bama, LSU that one year. We get it. But that doesn't mean other teams can't play. And that's clear as day evidence, rock solid we have right now. So that's my biggest takeaway from this, was that it sucked for Georgia Tech. Georgia found a way to win because they were the better team. That's what good teams do. You got to tip your hat to Georgia. They found a way to win. That's what good teams do. But man, what would happen if Georgia Tech played in the SEC? They'd be playing damn good ball because they went against some of the best the SEC has to offer on the road and took them to 8 overtimes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was Lane Kiffin that and then Brett Bielema buried him in the dirt.
Yes, he did. Big brother.
I'll shout him out. We'll talk about this real quick. So basically, Lane Kiffin was saying Ole Miss, Bama, and South Carolina all deserve to be in the playoffs. South Carolina lost to Ole Miss, Bama, and their best win is against Clemson. Ole Miss and Alabama best win is against Georgia. Georgia beat Clemson 34-3. Safe to say that SC is out, and it's between Ole Miss and Bama. Ole Miss has 9 wins, outscoring their opponents 390-94. Bama 9 wins, 371-117, and 3 losses. Ole Miss was outscored 73-60, and Bama was outscored 88-55. Common opponents both beat Georgia, both beat South Carolina. Alabama beat LSU by 29. Ole Miss lost to LSU by 3 in overtime. Ole Miss beat Oklahoma by 12. Alabama lost to Oklahoma by 21. Clearly, Ole Miss should be in the playoff over Alabama, but Bama is the bigger brand and more than likely will get in over Ole Miss. And then Brett Bielema says, couldn't agree more, but here's a thought. Ole Miss 31 strength of schedule has losses to unranked Kentucky, Florida, and an 8-4 LSU team. Illinois has the 30th strength of schedule and has 3 losses to number 1 Oregon, number 4 Penn State, and a 1 possession game to Minnesota. How about we just take the best 12 teams and see where it goes? It's just absolutely absurd.
Yeah, but, and that by the way, that margin of victory for Ole Miss, I'm just looking at their schedule: 76-0 against Furman, 52-3 against Middle Tennessee.
Hey, those are quality opponents.
40-6 against Wake Forest, and 52-13 against Georgia Southern. So that's about 200 points right there against some cupcakes. Obviously, Wake Forest.
Quality.
I guess they're technically Power 4. It's just not a good football team, right?
Bottom tier.
So that's about 200 points. That's about 200 points in point differential from those 4 games.
Yeah, but last question on this Georgia Tech Georgia game. Do you like the overtime where you just go for 2? Because personally, I kind of hate it.
From a spectator, yes, I do kind of like it because it's chaotic. But as a football fan, no, because it's a terrible way to decide a game.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, Georgia ekes out a win in rivalry week.
However, I will say the fact that they go for 2 and for the next overtime they have to walk to the other side of the field is absolutely hilarious.
Very funny. It is very funny.
Why do we do that? Why can't we just stay on the same side?
Next one though, the hands down, I'll say hands down, the most heated rivalry of all of college football. Michigan, Ohio State, the big one. And boy, it lived up to the hype this year. In a year, we all thought Ryan Day would finally get a win over the Wolverines. No cheating, no Connor Stallions, no Jim Harbaugh. Still couldn't get it done. Shamar Moore leads the Wolverines to a big win, 13-10. Tanner, talk to me.
I was speechless. There is no possible way this Michigan team should ever beat this Ohio State team. Ohio State's roster is worth over $20 million in NIL money. They went out and got Will Howard to come in and quarterback this team. They went out and got Caleb Downs to come in and play. Yeah, to this defense. They went out and these like top notch.
They bought out their
they bought out their team for one reason, Sam, to beat Michigan. If not now, then when? And I think we got our answer. Under Ryan Day, it's never. It's never. Yeah. He is not going to beat Michigan. It's just not going to happen. I mean, I think Emmanuel Acho had talked about it, which he's had some points that are better than others in his career. But I think this is like Ryan Day is he has no leadership whatsoever. You saw it at the end when everything was going down. He was in shock. Like you say, he was just standing there. He wasn't reacting to anything. He's like, what happened? Like he was, dude, that's your football team. You had a grip, man. Like, oh, I cannot believe this is. I was talking about this with my brother. I think this is the worst college football loss I've ever seen in my life. Now it could be recency bias, but a rivalry of this magnitude, coming off your rival winning the national championship, then losing their quarterback, their running back, their head coach, and their top wide receiver, having a down year, walking into your building when you spent $20 million on your roster and beating you in a game where you're 20.5-point favorites.
Yeah, that's not great.
I mean, sure, we'll have, the like the Appalachian State versus Michigan or the NIU versus Notre Dame this year, which are just like the no-name schools where you pay them a bunch of money and they come in and beat you. And that sucks. But a rivalry of this magnitude and how it's been going for Ohio State recently and their current head coach, the state of that, and to go so all in this season and to lose as such a big favorite at home, that was my take.
Yeah. Yeah, it's up there for sure. Obviously, Ohio State was the better team. You mentioned how deep their roster was, how much talent they have. It really comes down to coaching and your players fighting for the guy leading the team. It's very clear Ohio State doesn't give a shit about Ryan Day, and it's a complete opposite on Michigan's side.
I don't know if you're looking at the stats. I guess what the Ohio State's leading receiver, how many receiving yards he had?
50.
18.
Nice.
Their quarterback threw for 62 yards.
You think they're missing Quinn Ewers?
Yeah, I'd say so. I'd say they're missing Quinn Ewers. Yeah.
People forget about that.
My delay was like, what the fuck are you talking about? I was like, oh,
Quinn Ewers was officially committed to Ohio State, and he said, "Go Longhorns."
Yeah, no, I think they miss Quinn. I mean, I have no. Multiple times throughout the day, I just sat there. I was like, Ohio State really lost that game. Like there is no coming back from that. And looking at the actual football again, Michigan has no offense. They've had no offense all year. They had no offense in this game. They had Caleb Mullings, who rushed for 116 yards.
Shout out to Davis Warren for trying to give Ohio State. He presented them with multiple.
One of the worst throws you'll ever see. Right on the goal line.
Quarterback thing.
Not JJ. JJ's going to be special. But one of the worst throws you'll ever see, just right to the Ohio State linebacker when his receiver was wide open. And that's the thing. Michigan didn't play all that well either. If they came out and they just hung 42 on them, and you'd be like, where did that come from? No, Michigan played what Michigan football was this year. Really bad offense. We're just going to run, and hope you can't stop it, because if you can, we can't do anything else. And Ohio State was able to stop it. Their offense just completely fell apart. And Will Howard, what a disaster of a season for Will Howard. What a disaster.
Not at all. Obviously, Ryan Day, I think this makes him 0-5 as a Ohio State head coach against Michigan. Obviously, we talked about it at length, the magnitude of this game. There's talks of him being on the hot seat, right? As there always is with a big-time rivalry, losing 5 times in a row. Home, especially when you are clearly the far superior opponent. Do you believe there's actually hot seats, and how does he keep his job? I mean, is it he's got to get to at least the semifinals? Does he have to get to the finals? Is one playoff win enough? Because let's be honest, they're in.
Right. They're in the playoffs.
They're not obviously going to be one of the first four, but they're going to be in the field. What does Ryan Day have to do is he truly fighting for a job, you know?
This is a really hard one. This is a really hard one to answer because, Ryan Day has lost to one team.
Yeah.
In conference play, that's not Michigan. And that was Oregon about 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Who's now the number one team in the nation on the road when Will Howard forgot how the clock works.
It happens.
Like, it's been so dominant.
Skattebo, please.
It's been so dominant for Ohio State. And even the year where they lost to Georgia on the missed field goal. They might win the championship that year if he makes that. I mean, what? Because that was they would play TCU in the title that year, right? They'd probably win that.
Yeah.
So it's a true case of the grass might not always be greener, but it's hard right now to argue for his job after the stretch against Michigan, and specifically this game, because it just can't happen. It just can't happen. So my answer, no, I don't think he's on the hot seat. I think Ohio State understands that, just how dominant they've been other than Michigan. But he's in the car, he turned on the seat warmer. They're like, oh, okay. Like, this might be his last call, his last wake-up call. And obviously a deep run in the playoff helps his case, cools off his seat a little bit. But I think losing to Michigan, and if he loses the locker room because they lost this game, I mean, how's the Ohio State locker room right now?
Yeah.
I mean, if he loses that locker room and they go out and they have a poor performance in the playoff, then I think he might be good.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of keeping them together and being able to put together something in the playoff. Because this team is talented enough. The playoff is now obviously 12 teams. Their first game, they should win that comfortably. They should win that game. And if they don't, we've got problems.
Yeah, so right now, this is through USA Today, so obviously take that with a grain of salt. But right now, they'd be in the 8-9 slot, taking on Tennessee, who I am taking Ohio State over.
They should win that game,
right? No, there's some concern in Columbus for sure. I mean, they brought in Will Howard after losing Kyle McCord last year. Kyle McCord got a huge win last week. Quinn Ewers obviously winning against A&M. And so they had the quarterbacks. They just didn't trust him, I guess. But obviously, you got to take all that with a grain of salt, because if Quinn Ewers stays, does he become the player he is? Kyle McCord obviously wasn't the player we all thought. And then going to, let's be honest, a lesser conference, he's kind of balling out. But let's talk about this Texas team led by Quinn Ewers. Got a big win over A&M. They win 17-7. Tanner, now, correct me if I just missed this chapter of college football. I did not know this was as heated of a rivalry after this.
Me neither. Was this always the rivalry week game between the two of them?
No, because wasn't it? I'd assume is normally the Red River rivalry or Red River shit, right? I feel like, but I don't know.
I feel like the Red River might have always been. We're putting an end to this right here. We're gonna Texas football. We're gonna get a definitive answer,
because obviously, no Texas. Was it a Big 12 rival? Because
Did it kind of die out when they switched
I think
conferences?
A&M and Texas, way back when it was a Southwest Conference, that might have been where it started. That's my official prediction. I think it kind of died out when Texas and
last year, Texas's rivalry game was Texas Tech.
Okay.
Which, when I saw this Texas A&M Texas, I was like, oh, that makes sense. And then I kind of did the same thing. You're like, wait, what? And then I thought, because I thought of Texas Tech. I thought of Michael Crabtree that catch down the sideline. I thought of that rivalry. So it literally could just be, they probably all just hate each other. And now that they're in the SEC, they're just like, let's have this new mega rivalry and let's make it. But judging from what I saw online, you would have thought they've been playing this game for 50 years, and families getting, you can't, like, this is like politics at the table. Like, you talk about it, there's an immediate fight. But yeah, so all that is saying that I agree with you. I had no idea this was that big a rivalry. But yeah, according to what I see here, last year they played Texas Tech.
Yeah, so it seems, I'm looking at this article, just kind of talking about it. So it was a annual rivalry until A&M joined the SEC in 2012. So 2011, UT, November 24th, 2011, Texas beat them 27-25. Justin Tucker kicked the game-winning field goal.
Wow.
So, yeah. And then they tried to revive it in 2017. Kind of didn't go anywhere. 2018, the San Antonio rep proposed and filed a bill that would require Texas A&M and Texas to play every year on or around Thanksgiving. The bill even gained support of their governor. So it seems this was a long time coming, and then 2024.
Yeah, obviously. I guess for people our age, when we were Texas A&M left the Big 12 in 2012, so we were like 14.
Yeah.
So most of our years really following and falling in love with college sports, that just wasn't a rivalry.
And obviously A&M was kind of not great. For a little bit there.
That too.
Also, maybe that's it.
By the way, I'm also looking at 2022. Texas rivalry week game was Baylor. So I guess the Big 12 had just like a rotating Texas.
But yeah, this was I would say this game didn't really live up to hype. I thought it was going to be a back and forth game. Texas kind of took control from the jump. Quinn Ewers really didn't have to do a whole lot, playing an average game for him, 17 for 28, 218 yards. But they dominated on the rushing attack. Travion Wisner nailed it. Ran the ball extremely well. Didn't get in the end zone, but 33 carries, 186 yards. That's something you'd love to see. But A&M, obviously, Marcel Reed, not known for throwing the ball, and it's very evident. Texas made him run the ball. He did carry it for 60 yards, but it wasn't the explosive plays we're used to seeing Marcel Reed make.
Yeah, this game was boring, which sucks. It shouldn't have been boring. This game should have been awesome, and it was boring. Texas defense looked great. Yeah, and the key, as you said, I mean, with Texas A&M, number one priority is stopping the run, and Reed got his 60 yards on the ground, fine, whatever. But Daniels, that lead, the leader of that rushing attack, only getting 21 yards on the ground, taking 13 carries to do so. Very inefficient running game. Texas A&M, that's going to be a big issue. Only scored 7 points. So Texas defense is the gold star unit in this game, and they're the reason they won.
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing too exciting to talk about. Their team won on Saturday. Wasn't probably one of the worst rivalry games.
Yeah, it sucks because it should have been awesome.
I mean, it was college game, and it was probably one of the worst ones on Saturday.
Yeah.
And
the big winner for Texas A&M, Tyler from Dude Perfect, made the field goal.
Yeah. I really don't like Dude Perfect.
Why is that?
They're A&M Colt members.
They are A&M Colt members. I don't love A&M fans in general, but you got to tip your cap.
That is true.
Tyler Toney can do it all.
He can.
This guy can do it all.
Yeah. That is true. I kind of forgot about the whole field goal thing. But why ain't A&M student kick? Kind of BS.
They're too busy.
Come on, Pat.
They're too busy practicing their yells and their calls.
But moving on, a shocker in the week at ACC, team that was destined to be a top 4 seed, Tanner. The Miami Hurricanes was cruising down the coastline of Florida, right into that college football playoffs. And the Big Orange had something to say about it. Syracuse upsets Miami 42-38. Now, Tanner, it's been a common theme with Miami all year. We can't play worth a lick of defense, but we will beat you because we have one of the best quarterbacks in college football. But that was not the case on Saturday.
Yeah, I tell you what, good for Kyle McCord. Good for Kyle McCord, man. I think Syracuse is sneakily 9-3.
Yeah,
and no one's really talking about it. What a great season from Syracuse and Kyle McCord. Like a huge bounce back, which is pretty cool to see. But yeah, it's looking at Miami. It's the story all year. The defense can't get a stop. They've been playing with fire all season long. One possession wins to help from the refs against Virginia Tech that one game, then losing to Georgia Tech, then one possession game to Cal. Then all of these games come down to the wire. Miami finds a way to win, and we're all like, we know you're better than that, but you're playing with fire. Your defense needs to play better, and they just never did. And this was it. It was win this game, and you're in the ACC title game. And if you're in the ACC title game, even if you lose, I think you're guaranteed to make the playoff. Now, I think they might have just played themselves out of it.
Yeah, they need to win this ACC championship, and they're facing one of the most underrated teams in college football, a team nobody is talking about, probably because they are in the ACC and they don't have a stud quarterback. But, I mean, 503 yards usually gets you a win.
Should win a football game.
Usually gets you a win, but unfortunately, it is a Miami Hurricanes. But yeah, I think it's important we highlight Kyle McCord. A couple of weeks ago, about a month ago, he had a game with 5 picks, and 3 of those were in the first half.
And 2 of the 3, I think, were pick sixes.
Tough. But bounce back in the big where the light shine the brightest. He stepped up huge, and like you said, Syracuse sneaky 9-3. But that third quarter is where everything switched. 21-7, the Orange way. But yeah, it wasn't a matter. It was just a matter of when it was going to collapse for Miami, because at some point you're going to have a game where your offense can't do it all, but it seems they kind of did, and they still somehow lost. I mean, Cam Ward, 349 yards, 2 touchdowns. They had 3,
he played pretty well.
3 touchdowns on the ground. Stud wideout Xavier Restrepo. He had 148 yards. Jacoby George, 6 for 121. I mean, it's like we said, it's not the offense with the Hurricanes, it's the defense. And giving up 28 points in the second half is no recipe for success.
Yeah. I think there might have been a defensive. Yeah, I think Syracuse even had a defensive touchdown mixed in there as well. So, I mean, when you're Miami, you just can't afford to give away free points with your defense, and sure enough, they did. And yeah, it's just an all around good for Syracuse. I think it's we've said it 4 or 5 times now. Super underrated team. Kyle McCord got a raw deal at Ohio State. Comes into a little bit of a lesser known program, less pressure. He just comes in and he performs. He had that rough game against I think it was Pitt. Maybe he threw all those picks, but he was a player of the week at some point earlier in the season.
Yeah.
Like, this guy has put together a pretty damn good season and has led the Orange to a 9-3 record, and they're going to go bowling, and it's good for Syracuse, man. And Miami, it's a shame because, you should be, but you're not. And yeah, I mean, I think now we look at the playoff, there's no way they're in, right? We'll get the playoff rankings. We're recording this on Monday. We'll get them tomorrow to see how much they fall, but you go and you actually look at the actual body of work now that we have a completed schedule. I mean, what do you see? They lost to Syracuse, they beat Wake, they lost to Georgia Tech, they beat Duke, they beat Florida State, they beat Louisville. Okay, unranked Louisville at the time. They beat Cal by 1. They beat Virginia Tech, help from the refs. They beat South Florida. They beat Ball State. They beat Florida A&M, and they beat Florida. So
big wins.
I mean, Florida has ended up being their best win. Who was absolutely dead when they played. I mean, they played in week 1, but like 4 weeks into the season, Florida was pronounced dead, and then they've turned it around. So yeah, right now, if they played Florida, I don't know if I'm betting on Miami to win that game.
And in an already weak ACC this year, you expect a team like Miami to just go out and dominate, and they didn't really do that. 2 teams that can't dominate anybody, Nebraska, Iowa.
By the way, I'd like to recant. We said Texas A&M Texas was the worst game. This was undoubtedly.
I don't know, man. I don't know. But Iowa ekes out a win. Turns out Nebraska's not as good as everyone thought. Matt Rule's a bitch. The captains of Nebraska are bitches. Jay Higgins is one of the Iowa greats. Great face for the program. Kaleb Johnson, it really doesn't matter if he has 200 yards. He's still going to run over everyone. It was a typical Nebraska Iowa game, late November, freezing cold, and Iowa comes down the wire, gets a dub. 35 The last 35 seconds is what we need to talk about here. Dylan Raiola backed up. What's it Higgins?
It was Max Llewellyn.
That's who it was. Forces fumble, and it pops damn near right in his arms. Clinching. Turnover, and having Mahomes look alike, cry like a little bitch. But yeah, man, talk to me.
Let's play a little game. Let's play a game called Did Who Won the Game? Team A or Team B? Did Team A had 20 first downs, Team B had 5 first downs. Who won the game? Team A had 334 total yards, Team B had 164. Who won the game? Team A possessed the ball for 39 minutes. Team B for 21. Who won the game? Unbelievable stuff. Nebraska had a clear grip on this game.
Yeah.
For
do you see the total plays and third down efficiency?
Almost the entire game. Team A 8 for 17 from on third down. Team B 0 for 10. I'm looking for total plays.
Team A 76. Team B 41.
Who won the game? Oh man, there's no. I mean, this is Nebraska, Iowa in a nutshell.
It really is.
It's what it is. I mean, Nebraska did everything in their power to lose that game. The only thing when an offense is struggling as much as Iowa's is, The only thing you can't have happen is the best player on the team, the only player who can really do anything, is break one. And what did he do? Broke about 18 tackles for a touchdown.
What a beautiful pass by Stroud.
And by the way, I did the math. 63% of his passing yards, 115 passing yards, 73 on that one play.
1-0.
1-0. Or 2-0.
2-0.
Because he beat Maryland, but 1-0 against Nebraska, 1-0 in rivalry games. Like I don't. Nebraska just manufactures way to lose games, whether it's letting someone loose, whether it's the turnovers, which last year, by the way, I don't know if you saw, this year and last year was like a carbon copy in the final minute. 10-10 game, Nebraska with the ball, kind of driving like near midfield, needing about 20-ish more yards to get in for a long field goal. And both times, the turnover, threw a pick last year. This year, the strip sack puts Iowa in prime position. They're able to get into field goal range and kick the game-winning field goal. So I don't know what to say. If you're in Nebraska, you shouldn't be losing these games. And I personally I think Matt Rule is a good coach. I think he's a good fit in Nebraska, and I think he can turn that program around. But manufacturing way to lose games, though, as Nebraska has been doing, it's a rough trend.
Yeah,
I mean, it goes back to Scott Frost, so maybe it's not a Matt Rule issue, but this was a bad one. That is an inexplicable loss.
Yeah, not great. Not great at all.
And then, of course, we have the issue with the handshaking.
Yeah.
I don't know what your thoughts are. I think it's a weak move from Nebraska, not shaking hands. Do I think it's that big of a deal? No, not really. But if you don't shake the team's hand before the game and you lose, you have to know that everyone, fans, players, writers, whatever, are going to shove that in your face.
Yeah.
There's no possible way that you can not shake a team's hand, then lose, and then be like, yo, why are you giving us so much crap for that? What?
Yeah.
What? I prefer you shake hands. I prefer sportsmanship. But if you don't, it's not that big a deal. But if you lose that game, you're going to get every inch of shit talked back to you. And how Nebraska fans and Nebraska players and Nebraska coaches are shocked at the amount of shit they've got thrown back at them because of that is nuts to me.
Yeah, I totally agree.
You're gonna do it? Fine. You gotta own the consequences. You better win that game. If you don't shake hands, you better win that game.
Yeah.
And they didn't.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I do, like you said, I do think it's kind of being blown out of proportion. And it happens. I mean, the one I obviously think of is Kansas versus Oklahoma.
And what happens? They got their shit pumped. And what did Baker do? Gave it right back to him. Because that's how sports work.
Uh-huh.
You disrespect me, and I'm going to beat you. I'm going to give it back to you. Like how we're surprised that this cycle is insane to me. And but yeah, I'm sure you saw what is believed it stemmed from Iowa guarding their logo.
Yeah.
Which I think is a little much. I've never really understood that. Like, I don't know. There's a clip in the Michigan State rivalry where there's a Michigan player going to the Spartan and literally like with his cleat just like ripping it up. Okay, that would piss me off. But just like standing on the logo never really bothered me. But when they tried to do that at USC, because apparently they pray at midfield. That's what Nebraska always does. They tried to do it at USC. Some USC players didn't like that. So then they came and they kind of and then there was a small altercation before the game. So I think it's quite reasonable that Iowa was like, we don't want another altercation. Let's like guard the logo. I think that's fair. If Nebraska didn't like the fact that they were guarding the logo, pray somewhere else. Why do you need to pray at midfield? Mm-hmm. I just don't get. Do I think it's an overreaction from Iowa? Yeah, but who cares? Just pray somewhere else.
Yeah,
like whatever, man. Just like like all of it brought out before. You got freaking pepper spray in this conference, and we're out here talking about whether we shaking hands and praying in midfield. Like, come on.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the whole Nebraska Iowa situation is definitely being blown way out of proportion. I don't think it's that deep as people are saying. I did think it was funny Jay Higgins went.
Yes.
That's the Matt Rule chicken thing.
Did you see Matt Rule's face, dude? When he saw it, he was like, he was so scared. He was like, what's happening?
Hats off to Jay Higgins for
what a beast, man. I love Jay Higgins. What a football player.
Yeah, he's a stud. He'll be playing on Sundays for sure.
Should be.
But Tanner, obviously this is a heated rivalry, I guess.
This year it felt.
So rank the rivalries of the Iowa Hawkeyes. Like from the teams you hate most to the teams you like.
Which me, it's a little unique with Nebraska.
Yeah.
In my personal opinion, if I were to rank the rivalries the four rivalries based on teams I dislike the most and dislike the least, the one I dislike the most is easily Wisconsin. Second, then it's Iowa State. Then it would be Nebraska. Then it would be Minnesota. I do not care about Minnesota.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest with you. Sorry, Minnesota. I know you want the rivalry. I guess it is a rivalry. I don't care about you.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the Nebraska one, it's more of just like a bragging rights thing because a lot of my family are Nebraska fans. So there are times where I am rooting for Nebraska in other games. But I want to be Nebraska. I want to have the bragging rights. But it's not out of a hatred thing. It's out of a bragging rights thing. Wisconsin and Iowa State, that's kind of out of a hatred thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
How about you?
I think we're a lot of people's other, like, their biggest rivalry, but we're not technically. Like, I think Minnesota
hate us. They hate us.
And I could give a less.
Yeah. For what? Yeah, we don't care about it.
I think Iowa State is one.
That's just the proximity thing. Like
proximity, and even that is like 1 week.
Yeah, being in different conferences. Once it's over, it's I don't want them to win, but I'm not actively like I am with like Wisconsin, especially when we were in the Big Ten West. Like when each Wisconsin loss was ground gained by Iowa, and I was like really hard rooting against Wisconsin every week. Iowa State, it was always like, oh, Iowa State lost, cool.
Yeah, I don't know. That's because I don't hate Wisconsin as much as you.
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely gaps between them all. Like I'd say Iowa State's the worst, but that really isn't that. I don't know.
That 1 week is pretty nuts. I hate them a lot that week, and then after it, it's kind of
it's not like a Michigan,
right? It's a different conferences. But for me, those are my Minnesota. Sorry, bro. Do not care about you.
Yeah, but you ready to talk some Pro Bowl?
Let's talk some Pro Bowl.
We had, as bad as you, the listeners, Thanksgiving could have been. Just thank God you're not Matt Eberflus because he had
a rough Thanksgiving.
Roughest Thanksgiving. Perry, we can talk about this game from start to finish, but it really comes down to one possession. The Bears take it down within field goal range. They got two timeouts left in their pocket. They burn one with about 30 seconds left. And time is they just had one, maybe.
They had one. They were running a play comfortably within field goal range.
Yeah. With like 35 seconds.
Around there. Might have even been more with a timeout. And then Caleb Williams gets sacked.
Yeah.
Then go ahead.
Yeah. And then, so you're right. He got sacked. There's like 35 seconds left. Instead of Eberflus burning the timeout, maybe having one or maybe even two more plays. He just forgets you can complete pass and go out of bounds. So you can use a timeout.
Did he like Mitch McConnell like freeze?
Yeah.
What the hell? Like, oh my God.
I think they hiked the ball with 5 seconds.
Yeah,
about 30 seconds ran.
30 to 40 seconds ran off the clock as this was happening.
In the play was one of the worst last plays I had.
Yeah, it was just like, all right, it was throwing a double coverage and hope. Like,
they weren't even remotely. Was it? I just have so many questions. Did Eberflus still think he could complete a play, call a timeout? Because if you look at the route running, no one is past like.
Right. That's the thing. It'd be one thing if for some reason they wasted all that time and then threw a Hail Mary. Yeah. That would be bad. But it'd be like, okay, like for some reason they did that, but they had a chance to win. That's not even what happened.
Yeah.
They ran a play that goes first down and 10 with 15 minutes left in the second quarter.
Yeah, it was bad.
It was really bad, man. And look, I've seen playing the blame game. That's not something we're going to do because look, Caleb Williams didn't handle it well. That's not how you handle it down the stretch with Caleb Williams. That's a rookie. That's a rookie trying to find his way in the NFL. The minute he gets sacked, Eberflus, absolutely, without a doubt. The calculus changed like that. They were thinking about, hey, we might be able to get in the end zone and win this game. He gets sacked immediately. It's like, no, we can't win it now. We have to tie and go to overtime. And the fact that that wasn't the immediate thought in Eberflus's mind is insane to me. And then once Williams starts to wave everyone back, even if you want to let him kind of take the reins, the minute he starts to wave everyone back and is starting to communicate and clearly doesn't have any idea what's going on, you got to take it. So there's 3 times where you absolutely need to take the time out. The first one, the one that most coaches would do the minute he gets sacked, you take it.
Yeah.
The second one, when Caleb Williams is confused and trying to wave people back and set and get things in order, you take it.
Yeah.
And then he didn't either. And it ended up being one of the most botched end of the game because even after he got sacked, they only needed about 10 yards to get back into field goal range.
Yeah.
In a dome, Sam. They're playing in a dome. Perfect kicking conditions. So you take that timeout after he's sacked. You have 35 seconds to drop, and that was the last one. But guess what? The sidelines exist. You can run out of bounds.
Yeah.
Dial up plays to the sideline. How many times have we seen the cheap 5-6 yard plays that get teams in the field goal range? They happen all the time. It's just I don't even like the Bears. I did want them to win this game, obviously, because the Vikings are chasing the Lions. But it's just like anyone who's ever played Madden knows how to handle that.
Yeah.
How does an NFL head coach not know how to handle that situation?
Yeah. It's been a rough cut. I mean, they have lost. So the Bears have lost 6 straight games, including this one. Week 8, they lost to Commanders on a botched Hail Mary defensive play where we talked about this.
Cornerbacks were
talking to fans
instead of playing defense.
The Cardinals beat them 29-9
on a inside handoff with 30 seconds left in the half as a give up play that went for a 70-yard touchdown.
They lost to the Patriots 19-3. Then week 11, it just goes to shit. Central game winning field goal block, lost to Packers 2019. Then they force overtime against your Vikings, Tanner. Vikings end up winning on a game-winning field goal. And then this loss. It's just impressively bad. Matt Eberflus has been canned. Shock.
For the first time in franchise history, they fired a coach mid-season.
This should have been done weeks ago. But
you know when it should have been done? It should have been done in the offseason.
Yeah.
Let alone weeks ago. I cannot believe we talk about the Bears, trash organization, garbage organization. It is unfathomable to me when they have the most prime spot to pick their guy. And they pick who a lot of people believed was the best quarterback prospect in years and the best quarterback prospect this year. And to be honest with you, Sam, I've seen a lot of really good things from Kaleb Williams this year, and every reason to be optimistic if you're a Bears fan.
Yeah.
How you start him off with a lame duck head coach has to be one of the worst decisions of organizational malpractice I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's not great.
So now Kaleb Williams has to have a second head coach in his second year in the league, learn a whole new system after trying to learn this one and trying to also get accustomed to being in the NFL. So now all that's out the window now. All that familiarity with the offense, that's gone. That's out the window. You're going to have to bring someone else in now to a organization that has already shown massive dysfunction. Going to be kind of hard to attract top talent when you've shown that.
Yeah.
So it's a shame for Kaleb Williams that this is the route the Bears decided to go. Because, yes, Eberflus was a bad head coach. Yes, he should have been fired weeks ago. No. He should have been fired in the offseason.
Yeah.
And you should have brought in someone who identified Kaleb Williams and said, that's my guy. We are going to work together, head coach and quarterback, and we are going to make this thing work. That is not what happened, and Kaleb Williams is going to pay for it.
Yeah, absolutely. There are some names being tossed around for the position, some usual names. Lions OC, Ben Johnson. Lions DC, Aaron Glenn. Bill OC, Joe Brady. Former Titans coach, current Browns consultant, Mike Vrabel. And then one of the top ones is Commanders OC, Cliff Kingsbury. Obviously a familiar face to Kaleb Williams. So that is those are kind of some of the names out right now.
Did you see the surprise one? That came out from college?
Ew.
Marcus Freeman.
Wow.
That was my thoughts exactly. I don't know if that's some jabroni but I saw legitimate Marcus Freeman to the Bears. Just like,
what's he? Yeah, here it is. Sports Illustrated. Marcus Freeman named a potential interesting.
It's just like,
sure,
okay,
sure, I guess. But moving on to another nail biter, coming down on Friday, I believe this game was. It was the Raiders do the Raiders thing. Lose late against the Kansas City Chiefs. It seems, as Elizabeth said weeks ago, the Chiefs just get it. And that's kind of the theme of their season. Somehow, some way, they figure it out, get a win, whether it's by their talent or it's just the other team sucking. And frankly,
or freeze.
Yeah, that's true. That's also true. But this one ended on a botched snap where Aiden O'Connell basically just dropped it.
Yeah. I mean, we could talk about the majority of this game. It came down to that play. I mean, Aiden O'Connell looked pretty good for the Raiders, so that's something to, be encouraged by. But yeah, dude, they just inexplicable, and of course it's the Chiefs, so it's not without controversy. Apparently, you can kind of see in the video that play with the fake snap or the not fake snap, but the unexpected snap. A ref comes in blowing his whistle, doing this. So a lot of Raiders stopped. But, I mean, O'Connell wasn't expecting anyway, so it's not like it would have stopped the fumble from happening. But the refs huddled, and they didn't call a false start. They called an illegal motion. That's not pre-snap, so that can be declined.
Huh.
So So the Chiefs were able to decline it and get the ball. If that was a false start, they couldn't. I mean, they could decline the penalty, but the play never happened if it was a false start. So,
interesting.
So that's where the controversy comes in. I mean, obviously on Friday, it's a pretty big college day. I can't say I was had too many eyes on this game. I did watch that last play though. But I mean, it's just there's not much more to say other than the Chiefs' blood devil magic rears its head again, and they're able to win a close one on some stuff. So and they are 11-1, and they have the second worst point differential of any team to ever start 11-1. However, the number one worst point differential of any team to start 11-1 won the Super Bowl. It was like the 1970 something Raiders or something.
There you go.
So who knows? But Sam, I don't think the Chiefs are winning the Super Bowl this year.
I have no idea who's winning the Super Bowl.
It may be my dumb idiot brain counting out Patrick Mahomes when I never should because he's Patrick Mahomes and they have the blood devil magic. But I don't think the Chiefs win the Super Bowl. I said it.
Can't wait for this to be on. We'll take it exposed.
Probably will be.
I don't hate it, though. I don't hate it. Who I think will win, I have no idea. But I'm not liking what I'm seeing from the Chiefs so far this season. Nothing has... But... That's also a reason.
I didn't like what I saw from them last year.
Yeah.
And they just won for no reason again.
It's stupid, man. But moving on, we have your Vikings taking on the Cardinals, Tanner. They eke out another win, 23-22, Tanner. Looking on paper, this game should have been a pretty easy win for the Cardinals, but talk to me about this one.
Yeah, I mean, the Vikings have played this game a million times. The close, the heart, get your heart pumping type of close games. Except this one, a lot of the times the Vikings are the better team. It's happened a few times this year, like against Jacksonville, where they dominated them, but they couldn't score touchdowns, so they stayed in the game. That's what the Cardinals just did. This is the first time in a while the Vikings won a close game where I didn't think they were the better team. They were not the better team today. The Cardinals were absolutely the better team. The key to this one, Sam, obviously you can look at the yards, 406 to 273, 25-19 in first downs. Time of possession was bonkers, 36 to 24. The key was the red zone. The Cardinals, I believe, although I think their touchdown might have been from outside the red zone now that I think about it. They might have gone 0 for 4 in the red zone. I mean, just looking at these drives, this field goal was a 32-yard field goal. That's from inside the red zone. They missed a field goal from 45, which is outside the red zone, but they missed that 45-yard field goal. They made a how far? 31-yard field goal. That's in the red zone. They made a 24-yard field goal. That's in the red zone. They made a 30-yard field goal. That's just outside the red zone. And then they made a 23-yard field goal in the red zone. So,
yeah. The inability to finish drives,
inability to score touchdowns. That is the key for the Cardinals. Outgained the hell out of the Vikings, outplayed the hell out of the Vikings, couldn't score touchdowns. And the other big thing, Sam, coaching decision. That last 23-yard field goal that I mentioned, the Cardinals were up by 3. It was 19-16. The Cardinals were up by 3. They had a 4th and goal from the Minnesota 4 with how much time left? With 3 minutes and 20 seconds left. And they kicked the field goal to turn a one-possession game into a one-possession game.
Nice.
They're at the 4. Obviously, you needed 4 yards to get in the end zone, but you score there, game over. You don't score there, Minnesota has to drive from their own 4, and all they need a field goal. But that the studies have shown that, like, psychologically, coaches, when they're calling plays when they're a field goal down, they're very conservative. And when they're calling plays when they need a touchdown, they're much more aggressive. And the 6-point lead officially might be the worst in football. Just because teams are going to be aggressive. They're going to make plays for the end zone, and a lot of the times they're going to score.
Yeah.
So the Cardinals, it comes down to 2 things, as we've mentioned: inability to score touchdowns and a bad coaching decision to not go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. But the Vikings get done moving
10-2, like I predicted.
Yep, exactly. Moving on, though, Tanner, the Eagles pull out a win, kind of turning around what was kind of a slow start to the season, but they beat who we all thought was the best team in the NFL for a while there, the Baltimore Ravens, 24-19. Tanner.
R.I.P.
Justin Tucker is officially washed.
Officially washed. It's a real, like, the memes were funny. It's a real issue. It cost them another game. It's really bad. The best kicker of our lifetime, maybe the best to ever do it. He just can't do it anymore. He went 2 for 4 and missed an extra point. So really, 3 for. He made 1, missed 1, so he's 3 for 6. He has a 72% kick percentage this year, which is good for 36th in the NFL.
Yeah.
There are 32 teams in the NFL.
It's bad. It's a serious concern. And in a game like this, it cost him again. With a guy that was so money for so long, it was a guaranteed 3 or 1 point, whatever the situation was, no matter where you were on that field, you had a good shot as any. And boy, has it went from the high of high to the very lows of low. But that's honestly kind of the big.
It cost them this game, man. I think the other thing you can talk about is the Eagles' defense.
Yeah,
they're really good, and it's hard to not see the correlation between a secondary that was absolutely abysmal last year and the arrival of 2 rookie cornerbacks in Philly who are playing incredible football. Quinion Mitchell out of Toledo, Cooper DeJean out of Iowa.
Yes, sir.
Those 2 have been a godsend for this Eagles team, who has, their secondary is unrecognizable from last year, and their defense is really good, and they held what likely is the best offense in the NFL to essentially 12 points. They scored a touchdown with, I think, 1 second left on the clock to make it 24-19. It was not as close as the score indicates. And the Eagles formula, man, it's just AJ Brown's really good. They have Dallas Goedert's a good tight end. They're gonna use those guys to get their chunk plays, but 26 is going to be how they get their yards. And in the 3rd and 4th quarter, it's a continued trend. Defensive lines are tired. They're getting leaned on by this Philadelphia O-line, and Saquon has incredible second halves, and this was no different.
Yeah, Saquon has revived his career, Tanner. Just an absolute stellar of a season.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, it seems the 2 best running backs can be kind of pushed to the side. Get some good teams. Tend to be pretty freaking good, Tanner.
Big year for the running back.
Obviously, talking about Saquon and Derrick Henry. Unfortunately, this game really didn't live up to the hype of the 2. Both kind of quiet games by their standards, at least.
It's
still a fun game.
The formula is the same thing. The Eagles would just run the ball. until they ran it in for a touchdown. I believe Jalen Hurts had a rushing touchdown. And Saquon Barkley had a rushing touchdown. Yes, and Hurts had one passing touchdown as well. But 2 rushing touchdowns. Majority of the Phillies' yards came from the run game. That's how they control the game. And then the Ravens, they would get into field goal range, and then Tucker would just miss. And that's how the game went.
Yeah. Simple as that. But any last thoughts on this one, man?
Eagles are really good. Eagles are for real. That pains me to say. But that formula looks like a good one. Play good defense, control the line of scrimmage, run the ball. In the second half, defenses get tired, defensive lines get tired, and that offensive line and Saquon tend to take over. That's a good formula. They're a good team.
It's crazy how that works.
Yeah.
But let's talk about our players of the week, Tanner. Who is your player of the week?
Yeah, I assume we're starting in college.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so we had, like we said, a crazy week in college, but my player of the week is going to be Micah Alejado. You heard that right, Micah Alejado. You all know him, right? Of course. He is the quarterback for Hawaii. They played against New Mexico this week in a Mountain West matchup. And all he did was go 37 for 57 with 469 yards and 5 touchdowns. 0 picks.
That ain't bad.
That ain't bad at all. That ain't bad at all. I've said it once. I've said it a million times. Anytime you score 5 touchdowns, gonna be a player of the week, let alone throw for almost 500 yards. Get your team a big win against New Mexico. Shout out Hawaii. Shout out Micah Alejado. What a game from him. He's my player of the week.
Yeah, that's a great pick. He had a hell of a day on Saturday. For my college football player of the week, I'm going to go with a guy that pushed his team to the Big 12 championship. Of course, I'm talking about Arizona State's own Cam Skattebo, Tanner, one of the most electric running backs these past couple weeks, leading Arizona State to the big wins the past 3 weeks. He against Arizona, he had 21 carries, 177 yards, 3 touchdowns. Now, obviously, that's amazing. Huge win. But he's been doing that week after week against BYU, number 14th in the nation, 28 carries, 147 yards, 3 touchdowns. The week before against K-State, 25 carries, 73 yards, 0 touchdowns, but had 44 yards receiving, just all around a good game there. He's just been the definition of consistency for Arizona State, and is a big reason why they are where they are playing Iowa State in that Big 12 championship.
No doubt about it. As we've covered, favored to win.
Favored to win. What a turnaround for that team after losing to Cincinnati on October 19th, man. But let's flip it to the pro side of things. Tanner, who is your player of the week?
Yeah, Sam, I almost feel like I'm on a trend now of picking players on losing teams. So I'm going to do it again. Why the hell not? In fairness, this should not have been a loss. But when you play with devil blood magic, you're going to lose some games. But my winner is going to be Brock Bowers. Not my winner. My player of the week is going to be Brock Bowers. Not a lot of people talking about this guy. Sneaky putting together one of the better rookie campaigns this season. Against the Chiefs, he had 10 receptions, 140 yards, and a touchdown. Big time performance from him. One of the main reasons why the Raiders looked like they might be able to come out with this win before we all know what happened. But I mean, he's number 1 in receptions for tight ends. He's number 4 in receiving yards for tight ends. He's got 4 touchdowns. What a rookie season for Brock Bowers, man.
Yeah. I mean, he, like you said, he's kind of a rookie. A lot of people are talking about, and deservedly so, the Raiders suck. But the way he's doing this season is unmatched, especially with the quarterbacks he's getting the ball from. I mean, he went from who was it? Minshew starting out the season.
I believe it was Minshew. Yeah,
Minshew to Aiden O'Connell to
back to Minshew, back to Aiden O'Connell. Desmond Ritter, I think, was in there for a while.
Ritter played, I think. But yeah, he's having a hell of a year. So
yeah, good for Brock Bowers.
Absolutely. For my guy, my player of the week.
Oh, Jameis.
He's destined for one of those.
Oh my gosh, we're just gonna have to rewind this. You're gonna have to watch that one. You're gonna have to watch this one. Jameis back to pass, and how about you throw it right to him?
To be fair, he was open.
Oh, Jameis.
So Jameis is not my player of the week, believe it or not. But this quarterback is Tanner. He did something we have not seen in the NFL in 81 years. Of course, I'm talking about Bill's very own Josh Allen. Obviously, everyone saw the craziness that was the Bills 49ers game. Unfortunately, that game kind of sucked. But the atmosphere was electric. Bills Mafia was, of course, in the absolute tundra of Buffalo. They're getting absolutely obliterated by snow right now. But that did not stop Josh Allen from having a hell of a game. He went 13 for 17, 148 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 1 receiving touchdown, 3 carries for 18 yards, and 1 rushing touchdown. So he does it all, man.
Yeah.
He does it all.
Pretty good player.
Pretty good.
Do I hear MVP?
And he got engaged to Haley.
Really? I hadn't heard that. Yeah, dude. I hadn't heard that.
Stop it up.
Good week to be Josh Allen, apparently.
All right. But yeah, he became the first quarterback since the AFL-NFL merger in 1970 to have a passing, receiving, and a rushing touchdown.
that receiving touchdown was sick.
Yeah,
it was really cool. It was really cool, dude. And when he did that, dude, it was just like, and he gets to marry Haley Steinfeld. Like, screw this guy, dude. Get off my TV.
I love those tweets. That's like he has a
Josh Allen.
I saw it opposite. I was like, I'm Haley Steinfeld. I'm Haley Steinfeld. Oh my gosh. I'm Gwen in Spider-Verse. I'm whatever her character is in the MCU.
Kate Bishop.
I can sing and I'm married to John.
Yeah. It's I think both sides are hurting from this one. Yeah. It appears.
Yeah. Tough. But that kind of wraps it up for our football talk. We got a super special guest on. We are wrapping up the Godsey Pick'em tonight.
The gauntlet.
Carol, Mama Godsey, is coming on. She's got a tough slate, Tanner. It is conference championship week. We had a good couple weeks of Pick'em. Tanner's been on a heater. He had 10 the past 2 weeks. Unfortunately, didn't do too great this week. Only had 5. Missed his Superdog. But our guest picker, Alonzo, tied for first place with 8. He hit his Superdog. It's coming down to the wire. We have 3 people tied for 8 points. Have yet to get in the double digits for guest pickers. So that's tough. But let's see how Carol does. And can she get that immaculate 11? So stay tuned for that. And we now welcome on my mama, Carol Godsey. Carol, how are you doing tonight?
Doing good. A little nervous. You guys make this look pretty easy, so.
It's
we're just that good,
It's true.
But we'll finish off the Godsey Gauntlet.
The Godsey Gauntlet.
Now, your dad's in the lead?
My dad is in the lead, tied with Eric with 8.
Oh, okay.
So you got big shoes to fill. So let's kick it off. We got a great slate of college football. It is college conference championship weekend. So let's kick off with the Big 12. Iowa State versus Arizona State. Arizona State is favored by 2, but Mom, who do you have?
Well, although it pains me to say this, I'm going to have to go with Iowa State, which I never really root for them, with being a Hawkeye fan. So they've been on a little win streak lately, last few weeks. Even though they're the underdog, I think they're going to pull this one out.
We've already lost our Iowa State now has a 10-win football season. We lost that dig on them. It was an absolute tragedy to see that go. I can't. They can't win it. They just can't. I'm going to go with Arizona State just because I don't have it in me. You're a bigger person than I am. I don't have it in me. Give me Arizona State. They will be missing Jordan Tyson, which sucks. Their top wide receiver will be out. But Arizona State's playing great football. They're red hot right now, coming off. They absolutely wiped the floor with Arizona. I'm rolling with the hot team and my personal bias. Give me the Sun Devils.
Forks up, baby.
Yes.
There is no way I'm picking the Cyclones. I don't know if I could show my face around work if they win the Big 12 championship. I will never hear the end of it. So give me the Sun Devils in this one. But moving on.
By the way, real quick before we move on, did you know Iowa State's never had an 11-win season? Losers.
But
oh, wait, maybe
on,
I need to pull an Elizabeth and do a
south.
last-minute change on that.
Ooh,
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm not gonna.
Last minute
I'm not gonna.
change.
I'm gonna.
Didn't
I'm
they?
gonna
Yeah, it did it. It actually bit her in the ass. We have the Bulldogs of Georgia taking on the Longhorns of Texas. Mom, who do you have taking home that SEC championship?
Well, even though every friend of mine here in Arkansas is probably going to really hate me for this because they are totally, this all the time. I just think, I don't know. I think Texas is going to pull it out. I think Georgia's going to be really worn out after that, 800 overtime game that they just got done with. So.
Carol, that is a great pick. Throw them horns up, baby, because the Texas Longhorns are going to win the SEC in their first season in the new conference. Give me Texas. I think they have been, what a crazy college football season this has been. Georgia was the best team, and Texas was the best team. Now Oregon's the best team. Whatever. Texas has been the most consistent team in that SEC. So give me the Longhorns to get this one done. Horns up.
So fast, my friend. It is always horns down. Because what's that coming down the track?
Nice.
A mean machine. Red and black. Give me the Bulldogs. Now, here's why. I think, for some reason, I still think Georgia is one of the top dogs, yes, pun intended,
Nice.
in college football. And a couple weeks ago, not even a week ago, actually, there was talks that Quinn Ewers is not 100%. Kind of took it easy, kind of cruised to the finish against A&M. I think that injury could pop up in this game against a much better defense. Give me the Bulldogs here, keeping their hopes alive of going into that college football playoffs.
Look, Carson Beck's best game this year was against Texas.
Sure, but God, he is ugly. Right. North, we got Penn State taking on the Oregon Ducks, who, of course, everyone thinks as a Big Ten team. First year, first championship. Do the Oregon Ducks get done? Mom.
Although I would really, really love to root for a Big Ten team here, because usually that's what I go for, stay within the conference. But I think Oregon's just too tough. I mean, I think if it was at Penn State, that whiteout environment is huge. It's a huge advantage. But the fact that they have to travel to Oregon and stuff, I think Oregon's going to win.
I agree. I think the Ducks, they're just the better team. They're number one team in the country for a reason. And you got me messed up if you think I'm picking James Franklin to win this game. So give me Dan Lanning and the Ducks.
make that 3 for 3. Two things with Penn State. James Franklin has yet to show he can win in a big game. And frankly, I don't trust Drew Aller.
Yeah.
And Oregon has not had a single flaw throughout the season. Got a little hiccup there against Boise State early on. But Oregon has been cruising. So give me the Ducks here, not going to overthink this one. But going down to the ACC, a down year for the ACC, but a great matchup here. The SMU Mustangs take on the Clemson Tigers. Mom, who do you have here?
You know, this is one that I actually had to do a little research on. I just really wasn't sure. And I mean, SMU has beat their opponents pretty handily the last few weeks. And it just doesn't seem like Clemson is playing like Clemson football like we've seen in years past. So I'm going to actually go with SMU in this one.
Yeah, not so fast on that one. I think I'm going to roll with the Clemson Tigers here. You know, we talked a little bit. We talked about it a little bit earlier in the show. Some conference has to be won by a team not joining it for the first year. It just has to happen, and I think the ACC is going to be that conference. Until I see it from SMU, maybe that's not fair to say, but Clemson, they've had a really up and down season, kind of caught fire and won 6 in a row at one point after that blowout loss to Georgia, but then couldn't figure it out against Louisville and kind of a shocker, and then lost the rivalry game to South Carolina. Now, South Carolina, I think, is a pretty good football team, so I think that's maybe not the worst loss in the world, but still, I think Clemson's going to win this. I think Cade Klubnik is better than people think. I think he gets a bad rap because Clemson is no longer the Clemson, as you said, but I think he's playing good football, and I think Clemson wins this game and wins the ACC.
Can't believe you're going with Dabo.
Yeah, that's not great.
So that's how it tastes in your mouth. Give me SMU. And frankly, I don't really have a reason other than the fact no one is talking about them. And I think that's a little chip on their shoulder. Could get another big win. We saw South Carolina last week kind of open up the formula of how to beat Clemson. I think SMU takes that game film into consideration and they get done being crowned ACC champion.
There we go.
But moving on to the Sunday action, we have a good matchup between the Packers and the Lions. The Lions, hands down, one of the best teams in the NFL. Mom, are you rolling with them or are you going with the Packers?
I'm going to go with the Lions. I think, I don't know. I think the home field advantage is going to be big here. They don't have to travel. It's a Thursday night game, I think. I don't think it's Sunday. So I think the Lions are just going to be really fired up, especially after how they played against the Bears. So I'm going to go with the Lions.
I'm also going to go with the Lions. They're just I don't think any sane mind right now is picking against the Lions. They're just that good of a football team at home, like you said, and he's smiling. He's going to pick against the Lions. Point proven. But I watched this Lions team go into Lambeau on a snowy day, conditions that seem to favor the Lions, and they kind of beat them down. So I'm just going to roll with the Lions.
Yeah, you thought I'm going with the Lions. The Lions have won in every single way. Close games, blowouts, defensive battles. It doesn't matter. The Lions get it done week in, week out. Give me the Lions here. Again, make it 3 for 3. But moving on, we have the Chargers versus the Chiefs. This has been a low-key rivalry the past couple years. Justin Herbert versus Patty Mahomes. The Chiefs have been up and down somehow. Some way they have 11 wins, getting wins by every which way. The blood magic, as we have said in this podcast. But Mom, who do you have, Chargers or Chiefs?
I'm going with the Chiefs. I think it's a huge advantage with them being at home. It's a night game. All of those things are advantages. Even though they've had quite a few injuries and stuff lately, I think they're going to pull it out. And, as Elizabeth said, Mahomes, he just gets it. So, I think they're tough. I think especially at home, they can always find a way to win no matter what it is. So I think if it was maybe not at home, this would be a little bit tougher pick, but I'm going to go with the Chiefs.
Such a good point. He just gets it. He just does. And the Chiefs just find a way. They just do. They always do. So I'm not going against that level of voodoo. And it doesn't matter which way, the Chiefs will find a way to win. They also are they got Pacheco back last week. Didn't have that much of effect on the offense, still getting into the swing of things. I think he's going to, shoulder a larger role this week, kind of jump that offense back into how we expect it to look like. And I think the Chiefs do get this one done at home.
No.
Okay.
Give me the Chargers. Some week they have to lose, right? They're not going to go perfect. So why not against the Chargers? And that's strictly my reasoning. But moving on, we have the Battle of the Birds, the Seahawks versus the Cardinals. Mom, who do you have here?
I am going with the Cardinals. Sorry. Again, I think home field advantage here. I think that this is kind of a must win for them as far as the side that they're on. So I think they have something to prove playing at home. So I'm going with the Cardinals.
Because, it's pretty much do or die time for the Cardinals and their playoff hopes. The NFC right now, there's not a lot of room to play. You have the 10-2 Vikings, you have the 9-3 Packers. Seem to be all but locked right now for the playoff. There's only one spot left for the Commanders, the Cardinals. The Cardinals are still playing for that NFC West. Like, there's a lot of do or die here for the Cardinals. And I watched them dominate the Vikings, but lose a game because they can't score touchdowns. I don't think that continues at home. I think they're able to break through into the end zone. I've talked about it all the time. James Conner, I think, is a insanely underrated running back. Again, on the back of number 9, opening the door for Kyler Murray with his legs as well. Then the passing game with Marvin Harrison Jr. I like the Cardinals as well. They got to score touchdowns.
Which they won't. And that is why I'm going with the Seahawks in Geno Smith. We trust. He gets it done. He's a definition of consistency. I love what he's been doing with the Seahawks team this year. So give me the Seahawks here. But now it's time for the Bills versus the Rams. Who you got?
I have the Bills. I think they are coming off that really good win that they just had on Sunday with the big snowstorm and all of that kind of thing. So I'm gonna go with the Bills.
Great pick. I think the Bills are the best team in the AFC, and that does not change. They go on the road, and a complete change in environment. They're going indoors, pristine environment, and Josh Allen's going to sling the rock. Big day for Josh Allen. Again, the MVP of the league. Bills dominate.
Best team in the AFC, you said?
I did.
I'm claiming them the best team in the NFL.
Wow.
With the best quarterback in the NFL, Josh Allen. He often gets overlooked, right, because of who he has to face in the playoffs. Patrick Mahomes, we all know he's had struggles against Pat Mahomes. I think this is the year Josh Allen takes that next step, maybe even potentially over Patrick Mahomes. So give me the Bills here. I think this would be another great win under the Bills' belt. But that leads us to the moment everyone's been waiting for. Mom, who is your Superdog?
So I am looking at the game of the Bears versus the 49ers. And when I pulled this up, it was a 5.5 spread with the 49ers. I think with all the injuries on the 49ers, it's taken a toll on them. The way the Bears played against the Lions, I kind of think they got a little pumped up on that. I think it's going to be really close, but I'm going to do the Bears versus 49ers.
I like that pick a lot.
49ers are dead. They are done. They are dead. dead. So I like that pick a lot as well. And you know, the bump you get when you fire a coach as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. For me, I'm going to go to college. You know, I got to take it. I'm looking at our nation's army at 5.5-point dogs to Tulane. I got to take it. I got to take it. This Army team has been this Army team has been so good all year long. Now, Tulane handled Navy this year. That scares me a little bit in this pick, but Army, I think, has been a better team than Navy. Of course, the only blemish on their record is that loss to Notre Dame, where they were just completely outmatched all over the field. And I don't think that's going to be the case against Tulane. We saw Tulane look not too great the last time out against Memphis at home. Memphis kind of boat raced them a little bit there. So I think that those struggles continue. In Army, another team in its first year in the American wins the conference. Give me the Black Knights.
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. I think that's going to be a tough matchup for Tulane. So we've had our first Superdog in the NFL in Pick'em history. I was actually looking at that game. I really like that pick, especially with, like you said, Mom, the 49ers injury, Christian McCaffrey unfortunately going down on last night's game. But I doubled down last week.
Oh, you did it again.
South Carolina. I took them to win, and I took them plus 2.5 versus Clemson. Now I'm going to do it again. Give me Georgia plus 2.5 versus Texas. I'm doubling down. I don't know why. I'm just trusting my gut here. I don't really trust Carson Beck, but I'm going to rely on that defense we've seen from Georgia year in, year out. So give me Georgia plus 2.5. But Mom, you have 11 points on the board. Do you get all 11 topping the Godsey gauntlet? Dad and Eric are at 8. Elizabeth is at 4. Where do you fit in? Do you top everybody and be crowned the Godsey Pick'em champ?
Well, I mean, my first question to you guys is, why in the world did you wait for me to pick on conference weekend when all these teams,
Damn,
the
excuses.
spread is like
Excuses.
2.5 points.
Excuses already.
This is going to be tough.
Excuses. They haven't even played a game and you're already making excuses.
We got rivalry weekend.
Yeah, there's rivalry weekend here at the Godsey house for me to win. Just saying. The
winner needs to go into the loser's room and plant a flag with their face on it and start a brawl in the house.
Yeah. No, I am confident in all of my picks. So, I mean, I'm going to be at the top with 11-0, baby.
I love that.
That'd be crazy.
I love that.
Go big or go home.
The Bears.
Go big or go home. But they win. Dude, they could win that game. They can absolutely win that game. Absolutely.
Well, I appreciate you guys waiting and saving the best for last, you know.
A finale of the Godsey Pick'em Gauntlet. Stay tuned to see how she does. But Carol, Mom, thank you so much for coming on.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Love you guys.
Thanks.
And that wraps it up for the Godsey Pick'em Gauntlet. We'll see how she does. It is conference.
Major bragging rights are on the line.
Major bragging rights are on the line. I just hope she doesn't lose to Elizabeth because she will never hear the end of it. But Tanner, we do have some questions to wrap up the episode. The first one actually comes from Carol, my mom. She wants to know, with a holiday season right around the corner, what is your favorite holiday tradition?
Man, that's a decent question. My favorite holiday tradition. I think they're all Christmas Eve stuff because I think that's similar. You know how some people have the take that like Friday's better than Saturday?
Yeah.
Where like I'm on that take where Christmas Eve night is better than Christmas.
Yeah.
Christmas Eve night is the best, dude. Those couple hours when you're like winding down to go to bed and tomorrow's Christmas is the best thing in the world.
Absolutely.
So on Christmas Eve, just like cooking dinner with the fam. For a while we would make chili. I personally am not the biggest fan of chili. So I would eat something else, but like, we make it as a fam, and then we do like a gingerbread house, maybe play a game, do a puzzle while watching whatever stupid bowl game is on, like while watching the Hawaii Bowl or whatever game, Bahamas Bowl or something that we undoubtedly all have money on. So it's always fun. It's always fun for sure. So the Christmas Eve traditions are my favorite for sure.
Yeah, we do Christmas Eve. I totally agree. That's a great take. Christmas Eve is better than Christmas Day. That's one of your best takes on the show. I
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that.
It's actually crazy y'all make chili on Christmas Eve because we do too. I swear to God, you can ask Carol. So that's really weird. But every Christmas Eve, we get to open a set of pajamas, which my mom goes crazy with. It's always different. Like 1 year she did like our favorite Christmas, like how Target and like has a like character T-shirt. She did one for every Christmas movie. So I got Buddy the Elf because
nice. That's the best one, sure.
And then she's done ugly sweat Christmas sweaters where they were all alcohol. I got a Crown Royal one. So doing that, and then we usually open up a ornament of like a significant event that happened, and then we usually wind down with whether it's football, a Christmas movie, and then that's it. And my parents try every year to get us watch It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah, not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. Same. I mean, my dad got us 1 year, never happening again. It's just not happened. And then they always on Christmas Day, like, let's watch A Christmas Story. Not gonna happen either.
No.
That's almost as bad as It's a Wonderful Life. So it ain't happened.
Yeah, those are bad. But the last question we got here comes from your mom. She says, "Congrats on 150 episodes."
Thanks, Ma.
Over the past 150 episodes, what has surprised you most about doing a weekly sports podcast, and what do you like the most about doing a weekly sports podcast?
Yeah, I think what surprised me the most is I know when we first started doing it, I just thought, I mean, shoot, when we're watching football, we just sit down, we talk ball all the time. It comes naturally to us. That's what this podcast will be, and that's not true at all. Yeah. When you go, the amount of preparation just in terms of looking at games, and of course all the segments we have, choosing a winner or loser, a super dog, players of the week, all that stuff. Like it's pretty involved process. And I know just like, I think you listen to the quality of the podcast as we kind of kept going, and you can see, hey, we put more work in to actually know what we're going to say. And we're not just like trying to manufacture conversation out of nothing. Yeah. So that was the biggest surprise to me. I thought we should be like, yeah, let's just go talk sports because that's what we always do.
Yeah.
Turns out it's a little bit more involved than that. But I what I like most about it is I like the structure. Like, once a week. It's funny. I said my biggest surprise is that it wasn't just us talking ball like we expected. But my favorite thing about it is that now that we've done it for a while and we have like we're prepared and we go in, it's just two friends talking ball at this point. So like my favorite part is that, once a week you get to come here, hang out, put in, reap the benefits of the research we've done. And then, talks of sports. A lot of the time for watching game too. That's pretty fun to react. Yeah. And so that's what I love about it.
Yeah, absolutely. For my answer, what surprised me the most is how bad we were when we first started.
Yeah.
It was really, really like, if you haven't listened to like some of our first episodes, go back and then listen to like this one. It's night and day. It was so robotic when we first started. So just seeing the progress we have made over the 150 episodes is kind of crazy. And then another thing that surprised me is we obviously started on just Zoom because we were all in separate places. But doing it in person, so much better.
I mean, incomparable.
Incomparable, absolutely. So that just like seeing the transition from where we started to now is pretty freaking crazy. And what do you like most? I think you kind of nailed it, Terry. It's just like a dedicated time every week with our busy schedules to just hang out, talk ball. Yeah, like
as Bo Nix just threw like a 99-yard touchdown. By the way, that was awesome.
Former player of the week. Shout out Bo Nix.
Shout out Bo Nix.
What stud, man.
93-yard touchdown.
What stud.
What a stud, dude. Shout out him. I thought something about Oregon quarterbacks. I thought Justin Herbert was going to be good. I didn't think Bo Nix was going to be good. Turns out I don't know shit about what quarterback prospects are going to be good, except I know JJ McCarthy is going to be the truth. So,
yeah. Okay. And another thing I really like is just like the creativity we've gotten to, because like, yeah, it's pretty much structured the same for the most part, week in, week out, but like how creative we get with the winners and losers segment and how like last week I recognized Charlotte 49er wide receiver for having a hell just like that kind
Hawaii
of stuff.
Quarterback today.
Hawaii quarterback. And like when we have the same takes like Dan Hurley last week, it's just awesome. And that's kind of my answer. Tanner, that is gonna wrap it up for episode 150. We talked about a lot this week. We talked about Feast Week with winners and losers, the collapse of UConn and Dan Hurley. We talked about the greatness of Kaleb Johnson, talked about the unfortunate situation with Azeez Al Shaair and Trevor Lawrence, talked about the heated rivalry week, some NFL action, some players of the week, of course, wrapped up with conference championship pick'em, add a little bit of NFL with my mom, Carol, and ended with questions as we always do. But the clock has run out on Psych. Let's shout out our socials on Instagram, X, TikTok, at CrunchTime_pod. Also like, comment, and subscribe on the YouTube Crunch Time with the N326 duo. We are back after holiday break. Hope you enjoyed this episode, but the clock has run out on this episode. We'll see you on the next one on Crunch Time.